you probably think.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome home to Rotary. All right, so today, as usual, we'll do our pledge of allegiance at our four-way. We've got the wonderful Kim Anderson that's going to share a virtue card with us today. She's fanning herself. I love that. And invocation is going to be done by Ron, who does not have his private pilot's license. For some reason, I thought he was working towards that, but I got confused with someone else. But maybe I planted a seed, and maybe now they'll start thinking about taking to the skies and captaining his own. Then we'll have club announcements. We'll have fellowship with Dr. Murray Hansen, a dad joke, which will be marginally adequate, and Sue Garwood, our guest speaker, will be exceptional. So let's go ahead and get started with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Is it true?
Our virtue today, chosen by Kurt, is acceptance. Acceptance is embracing life on its own terms. We are open to what is rather than wishing for something different. We face the truth in all circumstances with honesty and courage. Acceptance helps us to bend without breaking in the wind of tests, and to gather the lessons and step forward with new wisdom and awareness. We affirm others and ourselves for the qualities we do have, and avoid judgment and criticism for what we don't have. Accepting myself allows me to give what I have to the world. The greatest gift that you can give to others is the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. Brian Tracy.
All right, and I was recommended an Irish blessing of the day. And may the dawn awaken you. May the sunrise stir you up. May the morning bless your work. May the noon renew your strength. May the sunset bring you home. May the dusk soothe your soul. And may the night bring you rest.
Thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate that. All right, we can all be seated, relax, enjoy. We're glad you're here. And let's move into club announcements. Does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share with the club? Yes, George.
Last week I gave the program, and there wasn't enough time to cover two topics. Those were a comparison of the United States today compared to where we were in the 1920s and 30s. And the second thing was we didn't do a good job on unfunded liabilities. So if anybody's interested in staying after the meeting today, I know you all can't do it, but anybody that wants to, I can stay as long as you would like to share those ideas with me, because I think they're important. So it's an announcement. And also, if everybody gets to use off the whole.
Yeah, right there, the director. All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other club announcements? Yes. You got my attention.
I chair the program committee. And for any new members who have not had a chance to give their classification speeches, we have the last 2 Wednesdays of March, and then we're into May. So reach out to me with the schedule here.
Yeah, where's Ken? I know Ken is postponed a few times. Still, yeah, he was up.
So Strive comes to a conclusion quickly, and a couple of announcements. You've heard some of this before. Forgive me for repeating myself. Preachers do that sort of thing. So tomorrow is the day when there's a group of folks, 8 of them, that are assembled to evaluate our scholarship applications. we could use enough, one or two more people, if you'd be willing to do that. We're gonna do it from 5 to 6:37 at Fourth Avenue United Methodist Church. Speak to me after the meeting if you're willing to do that. The second thing is for all of you, the Stride Banquet is gonna be held on March the 5th. We'd like to have as many Rotarians there as possible. That's a Sunday. It'll be at 5 o'clock in the evening. We'll have a wonderful program, and you'll get an opportunity to meet the young people as well as to represent Rotary. This week in your bulletin, there'll be an invitation for you to RSVP for that. We want to get those numbers as quickly as possible, and so be paying attention to that. Thank you. Yes,
Is Rebecca doing a wrap again this year for the banquet?
I haven't seen that on the.
Oh,
I assure you she'll be well, she will be there. She'll be showing her, spreading her stuff, and it will be inspiring. And if for no other reason to come to the Stride Banquet, be sure to come and do whatever the heck Rebecca does. All right.
Thank you so much. Any
I'm
other?
gonna give our gambling update
Yes.
real quick here. For those that saw the email, yesterday was the day of love, but I will love in our message here today. We posted our third month in our 6 months since the fiscal year of a net loss, so I'm gonna just really address what's going on right there. We have fallen into a correlation where if we have a low sales number that month, we sell less tickets, sell less money. Our margins are generally weaker in those months, where the months that we sell more, our margins are stronger. For example, here's what I mean. So in the month of November, we had $193,000 in paper tabs and e-tab sales with a gross profit margin. So you add up the two gross profits of each of them. That's what comes in and pays all our operating expenses of 35.9%. That was good. And then just in November of 2022, we only had $128,000 in sales and a 28% margin. So we are operating when everything is going up, or when it's going down, when it's really going down. And so right now we're experiencing a correlation of 0.48 since the fiscal year, which is July 1 through the current date, which is whatever month it was last month, January. Wherein in the prior fiscal year, we had 34. So there's no reason, gambling is probabilities, that just because we have a low month, our margin should decrease. That is unlikely to happen, but that's what's happening to us. And so that's causing us to experience losses and have poor performance right now. So we lost $1,100 this month, unfortunately. The other, so just translating that to one idea here real quick. We had, what was it? We had $108,000 in e-tab sales. A good month, anything above 100,000 is good. But our gross margin on that was 10.1%. If we would have just done our average gross margin at 14.9%, that would have been $5,000 more to our bottom line. So that negative number we had, negative 1,100, would have turned into about $4,500 positive. So that, those probabilities can really impact monthly performance. So read the whole email I sent out if you want to get more details on it. It goes into much more explanation. But we just have to improve our expenses here. We have $250 for our gambling infrastructure. The accountant that's doing our audit, which we're required to do, is very happy we use that. It makes their life much easier. Inventory, $4,000, $2,800 for our gambling team, $10,000 for our electronic provider, $1,000 for the city, $7,000 for boxers, $2,500 for miscellaneous events such as payroll. And Brenda is doing a Yeti and purse, thank you, Tori. Yeti and purse bingo. So a total of $30,000 and $30,050. Can we get a motion here for a first? Okay, all right. Can we have a second?
I'll second.
George, alrighty. All those in favor? Opposed? Wonderful. Alrighty, here we go.
Thank you so much, Chad. Any other club announcements?
Real quick, I'll get this going. Club service opportunity, the Red Cross was always in need, asking for us to have a drive. It'll be Monday, March 13th, 1 to 6 p.m. This is a great opportunity to get to know your fellow Rotarians while you're checking people in. And I also put a quick little note out there too. James and Crowell, they're having one in his honor on the 24th of February. So that's a great day to donate. And if you don't, you can donate with this too. I'll send start it back here. Any other club announcements?
Thank you so much. Yeah, donate for Jim if you can, otherwise donate for Rotary. Any other club announcements before we get into Murray's amazing function? Well, I just wanted to say, Sue, this is Sue's last official in-person meeting as a Faribault Rotary Club member, but we know you'll be joining us online. And find the club in New Zealand and whatnot, but how do you thank somebody that's made such a huge impact in being the steward of history in Rice County, being such a progressive person in the community and a great Rotarian, kind of been here. It's like, one of my regrets is that we didn't get you as a Rotarian soon, but we wanted to, you know, get you a little something to thank you. So we kind of get you acclimated to the comment. So thank you so much, Sue. We appreciate you, and we knew that, you know, you can only take so much with you, so we didn't want to. No, yeah, so that's from all of us. Yes, it's our pleasure. All right, so Murray, let's turn it over for fellowship here.
Right, we're gonna start today with a guest. Someone has a guest or two.
This is Ellie and Ryan Holmquist, married, right, introducing both of them. Ellie and Ryan are our partners in business at our event space that we just purchased a year ago, at, Ministry. Ellie also works for her church up in Lakeville, Restoration Church. Yeah, and they are excited to be, here and possibly joining.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome, Ryan and Will.
See you next time.
Ellie.
Sue, for the 18th week in a row, would you introduce the thing?
For what it's worth, he did try and reach out to Dr. Hanson, or Dr. Houston, I'll get a doctor, I got the first time. So he is hoping to join. And I'm happy to introduce, Dave Nichols, who is our next executive director, and I'll say more about that.
Say hi to Dave. Hi, Dave. Now, for fellowship today, we're bringing back, Kirk, you'll get the next slide.
Sure.
That's something that we tried in the past. I'm still working on this. And it's board games. So it works pretty well. There's a little modification here in each table. We get to stop at one of the spots on my board. We'll roll the dice, and I will need a banker to come around behind me because it gets a little more complicated. Eric's already reaching for his wallet. So Dave Connolly looks like he's dressed like a banker since none of our bankers are. Well, actually, Chad. Chad's our banker.
What do I have? So I just.
You just collect the money.
Okay,
That's what you do.
all right.
All right. I'm gonna start here at the back table. I got the dice. And ladies and gentlemen, this is North Johnson from the chamber. He's gonna roll the dice first and see where it lands. 6. All right. Well, look at this. The chamber does an amazing job promoting your business. Congratulations. It's time for everyone to pay their dues. Norman, would you like to say a few words? Did you have a pile of cash there?
This is for a few things. I'm gonna start off with Pastor Greg, you and your crew absolutely made Shelley's day yesterday. I don't know if anybody has had the Lakelanders go sing for your honey on Valentine's Day, but they made the trip all the way over to Otana to do that. So thank you very much. That was just a real treat. I have to put a couple bucks in there just for the Chamber Gala. Thank you, everybody here that was there. It was a great event again, Laura. And then lastly, in case Sue leaves us out of her presentation about her time in Faribault, Sue's one of the original members of the tourism commission. And, really, we got to do a lot of pretty cool things together. Looked at a few things and, really helped with Fairville on the map in a few ways. Also helped launch that mini road trip campaign that has been, award winning. So thank you for your service on that, Sue.
And yes, if you would like to say anything, Sue, today, please feel free. We're gonna do a double at this table, so I'm gonna ask Summer to roll the dice. 7, 11, 7. All right. The people at Mighty Fine Coffee, we happen to be back here, have a chance to expand their business. This is your chance to invest. And I'm not really kidding. She's gonna talk to you about how they are expanding their business.
Hello. Very exciting news. We do, Mighty Fine just got a larger roaster because their current 3K roaster could not keep up with the demand of coffee in Fairville. So if you have not had the chance to try Mighty Fine coffee and you're a coffee drinker, I highly suggest you see this.
And part of that is you're expanding the Crossroads building.
Oh, that too, yes. I should probably mention
They're
that.
taking over the coffee cart, so, and then expanding the little food menu as well.
Yeah.
So our employees are looking forward to getting out there at lunch and settle over. All right, congratulations. So this table. Eric, would you like to roll the dice? Doesn't matter what you roll. Grade 8. Judd Osterman and Demerol finds a little extra in your refund. Just enough to pay them. Good to have you here. Actually, got several. You're off to get back to this table, but, you know, you can pay too. This is.
Unless if you have Venmo, I can do it.
We did talk about Venmo, and we are going to get that.
That's why I said it. I would say.
I have volunteered to do the first day with them. Pastor Mark, any words?
They're good with taxes. What are you tax exempt?
It works.
I just want to say that Bruce House had a very successful Helping Hearts event last Saturday. Many of you were there and supported if you weren't there, and I really appreciate congratulations. And I just want to say, too, my sister flew from Colorado, and like my little sister does, she helps me with wardrobe malfunctions, the size of the speech, hard practice that. Really broke, she's breaking me down. Let's sit on my back on it.
She's not watching online.
Sue, I just wanted to wish you the best in your travels and, great to have you as a Rotarian. I'm sure you'll be, engaged as a member in New Zealand, so good, best of luck to you. And then I wanted to tell Mark that I didn't realize Greg and his crew would go to Owatonna, so next year, we'll send them together because I worked at the high school there, so that'll be great. Thank you.
Just, you know, Sue will, even though she moved to New Zealand, she'll still be a member of our club. That's such a day. If she finds one there, if not, she will zoom in on us once when she's drinking her morning coffee the next day. Do the time change, right? It's about 5 in the morning, right? So we won't see you.
In winters, it's more like 7 or 8.
Okay. Good. So we're moving on to this table. Brad, would you like to hold the dice?
Just, oh, take one of them.
Let's see, Riverbend Nature Center. How does this happen? Is crafting a strategic plan and needs your input. That's right on the daily news today. Front page. So of course, your donations are accepted.
I took my change off the table tonight, well, I wrote that most too, so, just really briefly, I wanted to thank Sue also, we didn't have a chance to cross paths as much as I would have liked. But there are, a lot of very important, nonprofit organizations that help make Faribault a better place to live, work, play, and invest, and coming from outside the Faribault community, Sue was one of the very first people, she might not know this, but one of the very first people that picked up the phone and had a very nice informative conversation with me. Helped me with a, pretty substantial grant proposal that we were putting out. And helped me with some, like, just getting culture of the communities, history reconciliation pieces, and it's just super informative conversation. I'm gonna miss the opportunity to work together and looking forward to, as I'm getting my legs under me, to working with the historical society. So thank you, Sue.
All right. Rod, you got any cash or anything? It wasn't a suggestion. Okay, so I'm the letter speaker today, roll the next dice. Opposed, 3 and 3. Right. Well, you know where it's gonna land. We're all impressed with our visit to the Rice County Historical Society. How much money is it?
So, two things, thank you all, everybody, for your lovely and thoughtful words, it, means a lot. But I am speaking, so I'm not gonna cry quite yet. I want to take a moment, though, actually, to invite you all to the Historical Society tonight from 3 to 7, but especially tomorrow. Dave Nichols, our new executive director, is giving a program on Bishop Whipple, specifically Bishop Whipple's role during the U.S. Dakota War in 1862. It's a remarkable, even when Dave and the volunteers were doing research on that, there were some pieces of Whipple's story that I hadn't heard of before. And so, if you're at all interested in exploring or learning more of that, I absolutely recommend that you come to the Historical Society tomorrow at 7 o'clock for a program on Bishop Whipple.
And no refunds, I'm just saying.
So I normally stand up and say something really serious, so I just want to remind you that President's Day is coming up soon. And if you're not familiar, it's a very special time to celebrate our favorite president. So I thought I'd regale you with a little bit of information about my favorite president, Van Buren, the 8th president. So Van Buren was the first president to ever be born inside the United States. And that's all I got. So you know, since I'm the director of marketing at Harry Brown's, there isn't anything more patriotic and adventurous than driving a Jeep. It's good, because I drove a Jeep here today.
All right, I think we're over to this table. Wow.
There he is.
Jeff, yes, I knew I couldn't miss this. Wonderful. Not very good at dice. No, because that lands right on you. All right, so what do we have? We have 4th Avenue United Methodist has a free soup lunch. But we are taking Goodwill donations. Correct? Back of the bus. There's nothing free about the soup lunch. It helps me stay in town. Next Friday begins the first of 6 soup luncheons at 4th Avenue United Methodist from 11 to 1. There's a several green flyers on each one of the tables. I hope you'll take that and make sure we're at the time, the menu and all of that sort of thing. It really is a great experience and we have a lot of fun with that. Was there something else? I'm trying to think what else I need to respond to. Anything else?
Baseball season again.
Yes, well, I know nothing about that. I've been paying none attention to that this winter, but I soon will. When are pitchers and catchers heading down there?
Pretty much within the month.
Okay, all right. That's all I got to say today. Thanks. Oh, I want.
He has a pastor.
We'll miss you, Sue. We've really enjoyed you being here and I especially appreciated the historical presentation you gave on women in the history of Rice County. And I was thrilled to be able to invite Sue to come and present to the women of my congregation. It was a great experience. So we'll miss you. Thank you so much, and I'm eager to hear what you share today.
Mr. Suit?
A couple dollars, most of which is for Stu, I've been working with Stu on the tourism commission for several years. Don't tell Gord that you were my favorite commissioner. And then, Dave, I hope you get the opportunity to kind of fill those shoes as well, because then I'll be less outnumbered, male to female on that commission, so that'd be great. President, I'm a Calvin Coolidge guy, so laissez-faire, and he's the only president to win re-election with a front porch campaign, which meant he didn't annoy you at your house or on your phone, asking him to vote for him. Lastly, little teenager slang that I learned this
I'm all ears.
and stuff. So boys are in blue, right? And girls are traditionally pink. And if there's any touching going on, that's called purple. So purple. Watch out when you're purple.
To the back table. Things already been distributed. All of that is. 6. Great news, your line insurance covered the bill, just not the copay. A few words?
Yeah, I just wanted to also give a shout out, recognize Sue. Gotten to know her better over the last year, working on the Johnston Hall Memorial Project. And she's really been an integral part of that team and continues to be, and is helping Sam Temple with creating a video about Johnston Hall. So I'll keep this group updated, but just wanted to thank her for her service on that project. And then also I serve on the Healthy Community Initiative Board of Directors, and this morning we had a meeting at the Public Schools District office, but I picked up a student who serves on the board this morning, and on the way to the meeting, he said, "Wow, yesterday this barbershop group came and sang for the high school choir, and it was so amazing. And Greg was there, and I know he's a Rotarian, and it was just so amazing to hear a student talk about, you know, your group coming and singing and how meaningful that was." And then he recognized you as a Rotarian and said that you were just so engaging with the youth. And I just wanted to recognize you for that.
Thank you. I'd like to just add a word about that. The reason why we were there was because I met the director of the choir at the Christmas concert for Rotary, and was able to make the contact there and then extend the opportunity to go there. So anyway, Rotary has many tentacles.
Are you done now?
I doubt it.
And to the head table. Kurt, Dice. Let's see, we finally got one that's not at the table. Jim. Jim Mulcher comes out of retirement to tailor fit your clothes. Well, that means he's gonna charge you. All right, you got anything?
I do,
But we'll go over here first, Jim.
Just another opportunity to thank Sue for all of her work in our community and our friendship over the years, and so happy for your next venture in life.
George, the final word unless Greg speaks up again? Pretty much.
Couple of things. One, two, there is a wealth of knowledge about the history of Fairfield. There's not enough of a meeting by which is presented. It's extremely wide range of knowledge about Fairfield. And when you read, you can miss that. So I'm gonna recommend we lock you in the room. In the dictating machine, and we'll let you out and get all your knowledge on that, in one of those things. So, but obviously, we're going to really our position because you've done a fantastic job over the years. And, it's really good. And I wish your successor is happy to be, okay? And the next thing is, I know my talk last week could be looked at as doom and gloom, but I'm gonna repeat something I said last week, and that was Sam Adams' statement. He said, "No people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor will any easily be subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved." Now, those last two things are powerful when you think about them. Now, here's the thing about what I talked about last week, and that's this. If we don't understand what's going on, we can't solve the problem. You know, and so all the stuff I mentioned last week are problems. What is the most problem? If we don't understand the problem, we can't do anything about it. But I believe that if we buy into any of the information that I gave last week, we have representatives that we can talk with. We've got to get at these people because a lot of them don't know. They know they don't. They're listening to them talk. Provided speech, great presentation, that he didn't understand some of the things he talked. I know that. So what I would like to do today, if anybody stays, is we'll talk about what we can do. But I want to talk about two things that we did not cover. And that is the comparison of where we are today as a nation compared to the Great Depression. And then talk about some of the problems with unfunded liabilities. Well, that's all I have to say. Is that enough? Is that enough?
Sometimes the biggest problem for me is getting the microphone.
Does anybody know where this dollar came from? There's a dollar. Yes, is that? So a couple dollars, one, Sue, it's just been such a pleasure. I really appreciate the way that you are who you are. And last weekend had the pleasure of introducing my adoptive parents to my birth mom and her husband, and so that was really special. I made my famous scotchy bars, which I should make for all of you sometime, and had a nice time just kind of chatting and whatnot, and yeah, so that was really neat, and thanks for Natalie being a part of that. And then I've got a bonus dad joke that I almost used today, and now I really wish I would have. What's it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles. Who said that? Ron? Oh, thank you, Nate. Thank you. And then, yeah. 10 tickles. 10 tickles. Yeah. I think I missed it once before, but anyways. So here's your other dad joke for today. All right, what do you call an elephant that doesn't matter? There's really no such thing as an elephant that doesn't matter, but what would you call one? You who said that? Oh my gosh, thanks. That's good. We'll share that one today. So I'd like to invite Sue to come on up and do what you do so well. You like the wireless microphone or the?
Thank you, and thanks everybody again for such lovely words, I really appreciate it. You know, it has been a true blessing to be a part of Rice County Historical Society for 20 years and really actually Rice County history for 35 years. So this is a big change in my world. I am, for those of you who haven't been following along or are like have your own lives and I am moving to New Zealand. And of course, why? Very good. I'm getting married. Mark, my partner there, is a New Zealand citizen. His brother is a professor at St. Olaf College, and it was 11 years ago when he and his mom and younger brother came to visit their older brother, that through a curious series of connections, he wanted to go to a World War II reenactment telling. None of his family did, not real surprising, but through connections, I gave him a ride up to that event because I was going, and we connected and maintained connections. He's come back to visit every year for at least a month. I've been able to go there a couple of times. And really, you don't make this choice. At least I don't think you make this choice if you don't have to. And I'm blessed that it's just simply, the only thing worse than leaving everything is not leaving everything. So anyway, he is why I'm going to New Zealand. But where is New Zealand? So that's what I'm talking about today, is New Zealand. This is stuff I have learned over the course of time. When you make this, again, you make this kind of move, you don't make it without at least knowing everything. So that's where New Zealand is. That flight, by the way, from the time I leave here on the 30th, or excuse me, the 28th of March, I will land in New Zealand the morning of the 30th. It's a 30-hour round or 30-hour one way. So, yeah.
Wow.
Again, you gotta want it, right? So New Zealand and Australia, as well as Indonesia and all of that, make up Oceania. So if ever you're doing some research on that territory, it's a good way to do, anyway, it's a good way to describe it. You can see again where the equator is in relationship to New Zealand. The Tasman Sea is the ocean or the part of water that is between New Zealand and Australia, South Pacific, Indian Ocean, all that kind of. The country itself is actually made up of 3 major islands, as well as 9 affiliated island groups. There's about 50 islands outside of New Zealand that are all affiliated with the country. They are North Island, South Island, and then a teeny island at the bottom called Stewart Island. I'm going to be, by the way, at the south end of the South Island. That is where I'm moving to the city of Dunedin. Dunedin is part of the Otago region. So again, if you're sometimes every once in a while these kinds of words pop up in news or whatever. So I'm just sort of sharing things for you to keep in mind when you're reading things, etc. And the Otago region is both coastal as well as part of mountain range. So it's actually quite a rise from the Pacific Ocean all the way up to really the middle of the island. I know it was like, we'll get into that in a minute. And specifically, that is the city of Dunedin. There is the Otago Harbor, Port Charles, the Taieri Head. There is Albatross Preserve there. There is a natural penguin reserve there as well. If you've ever heard of glowworms, which is you go into caves, that's in that part of the world. How big is New Zealand? It's again, all a matter of perspective. It's 1,000 miles from the tip of New Zealand to the bottom. So that is to scale, New Zealand superimposed over the United States, where the north end is in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the south end is down in Florida. And once again, perspective is everything. How far away is New Zealand and Australia? Oftentimes people think of them as being really close. They're over 1,000 miles apart as well. And also, interestingly, New Zealand is really farther south than Australia is. In this part of the world, south is cold, north is warm. Oh. Yeah, it's cold. That's Antarctica down there. It's about the same, it's about double the distance. So if it's 1,000 miles from Australia, it's 2,000 miles from Antarctica. A local connection, Lawrence Gould, who was the 4th president of Carleton College. Before he was that, he was Admiral Byrd's second in the excursion to Antarctica, and they supplied unneeded because again, you're that close to Antarctica. That's where ships were supplying that sort of thing. That's in the 30s. Geography. The North Island and the South Island are actually quite different. One of the biggest differences is what happens down the center of the South Island, which are called the Southern Alps. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you know that that was filmed all over New Zealand, and the flyover of the mountains, that's the Southern Alps down the center of the island. The warm parts, like Hobbiton, that sort of thing, is in the north part of the island. And in the north is where, they have hot springs and other kinds of things. Trade winds. Why is it cold? I don't know, again, if you've been tracking it all, but Cyclone Giselle is impacting the North Island. And again, its relationship to where New Zealand sits and its relationship with Australia matters. When the North Island is significantly warmer than the South Island because its trade winds come off of Australia, which is lots of desert, lots of heat, that sort of thing. That's also the cyclone started north of Australia and is flowing over. Whereas the South Island gets its trade winds off of Antarctica. In fact, where I'm going to be, the average temperature will be between about 39 on the cold end and 69 on the high end. Most of that time hovering in the 60s. All right, the North Island. Everybody thinks of the North Island as kind of New Zealand, and it certainly is. It is the majority of the population. The country, again, 1,000 miles long, about 280 miles wide, only has about 5 million people, of which almost 4 million live in the North Island, which, if you recall from the map, is actually smaller. But beautiful things to do. The Alpine Crossing is literally, it's only about 18 miles of road, but about 240 miles of track. Walking is a big thing in New Zealand. In fact, they call it tramping. And it's a thing, I'll share more about that in a minute. Whitewater rafting in Rotorua. Sorry, taking a look at my notes again. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, the one of the mountains in the Alpine area was cast as mountain, if that's important. And then also on the South Island is where the capital is Wellington. This is the South Island. It's where adventure sports are. If you're into bungee jumping and all that sort of thing, Christchurch is the place to go. The Moraki boulders are 6 million years old, not man-made. That's nature doing its pretty amazing thing. It is wine country. If you drink a wine from New Zealand, you're drinking it from the South End. The Southern Alps, as I mentioned, on the other side, and then lots of historic landscapes. The Larned Castle is actually very near where I'm gonna be living, and I'm hoping that they at least that cabin in the middle up at the top, actually, printed something out about that because it was so cool. New Zealand is known for its beautiful high-end lodges and abundance of campsites. But there's also something like this that is a backcountry hut. Like a backcountry hut to me, by the way. There's apparently 1,400 of them scattered across the New Zealand, and they're managed by the government. They are places where you can forego your tent when you're going out walking, that sort of thing. They were originally built for sheep musters and deer cullers, and today they range in condition and amenities from service huts that include mattresses and running water to those that are a little more than mountainside shack. Get this, they range in rental price from $3 to $90 a day. Yeah. Because health, exercise, being out in nature, they know who they are and they know that that's one of the most important things. Tourism is one of the most important industries, as well as they have an interesting work-life balance. That'll be probably one of my greatest challenges. Some of you who know me, I tend to work a bit, and I'm not gonna be able to do that. So trying to find a place and a way to play. Hopefully we'll include at least 1 or 2 tramps, including a stay in a hut. They also, by the way, sometimes call them cribs. Stewart Island is a little island, a population of 402. So 4 million on the top island, just about 4 million on the south, so North Island 3.9. The middle island is 1.2, and the Stewart Island has 402 people. It's mostly a nature preserve. It's only got about 40 miles of road at all. The rest of it is all walking. A little bit of history, again, in comparison, here in Rice County, the earliest indigenous, our earliest record of indigenous occupation is about 13,000 years old. We have lithics and other points in our collection at the Historical Society that were found in Rice County that are 13,000 years old. Put it in perspective, the Maori were the indigenous people to New Zealand, arrived about 1,000 years. They are seagoing folk, and it was the invention of the double-hulled ship, catamarans and that sort of thing, that allowed them to expand and to travel farther and that sort of thing. And most of the Polynesian group were able to do that. So Hawaii and New Zealand were both populated about the same time for the same reason. Australia and Papua New Guinea and all of that sort of thing, they came much earlier over a land bridge coming out of Africa. So if you look at and they are Melanesian versus the Polynesian, because they have they're actually a different race from different origins. The Maori are the indigenous folk. Tattoos are very important in their culture. They are a very warrior-like culture. In fact, it's one of the reasons that when the British arrived, they weren't very successful. The last battle between England, who was trying to take control of the country, and the Maori, just in the 1830s, 1,500 British soldiers were decimated by 100 Maori warriors. And basically the crown said, we got Australia, we don't really need New Zealand. But the citizens that were there said, but wait a minute, we still want to settle because we were here starting to develop businesses and that sort of thing. And so they actually negotiated their own treaty, the citizens with the Maori. And with that, they agreed, the Maori gave up sovereignty of the land, but kept control of the land. So they recognized the crown as being the king, but if you wanted to buy land, you were buying it directly from the Maori. So imagine that is if the Dakota had said, sure, the United States government, sure, we'll recognize that, but you gotta come to us every time you wanna buy a piece of property. It might have been a much different situation. Culturally speaking, as I mentioned, it's a warrior-like culture. The haka is very key. You may have seen some of that in varying. It is very common, actually really common in all New Zealand sport events, especially if you're a rugby follower, the All Blacks or the New Zealand rugby team, they do a haka before every game. Interestingly, by the way, though, every Polynesian group they play has their own version of a war dance. They're playing Tonga or if they're playing Samoa. Again, it's really fun to watch the two do their hakas or their war dances, oftentimes at the same time, and this is before the game. Very cool. Anyway, they have the whangarui, that WH is pronounced with an F. It is the cultural home or the meeting house for that particular tribal group. Oh, it's also important for me to note that the Maori are not a unified group. They are, each has their own tribe, and there's lots of warring that happens between them. Whereas, not like it is in New Zealand, but the Maori are very patriarchal, and in fact, women aren't allowed to speak or to be present during governmental meetings in the whangarui. And both women and men have facial tattoos. Again, I wanted to read a little bit about that. Anyway, they are, oh, there it is. The makaroa on a men's face is a symbol of nobility. Maori believe the head is the most sacred part of the body, and facial tattoos have special significance. For women, they receive a mokukawi. They're received on their lips and chin, and it represents the women's leadership within her community. So they are symbols you have to earn, and signs of status and recognition. One of the things that is really striking to me is across the country is the dual language signage. And in fact, in 2023, all road signs across the country will be in both Maori and English. And you can see this is, Mark works at the University of Otago, and you can see there's a bit of Maori and English on the sign. And that is, again, bilingual signage is across the country. Just a quick couple of pieces about the history. As I mentioned, the Maori arrived about 1,000 years ago. The Treaty of Waitangi was signed with the British in 1840. So again, not a long history. You know, some of us have had ancestors here for 400 years. Again, the very earliest folk that were settled in New Zealand were in the 1820s. But I'd like to note that New Zealand was the first country in the world to give women the right to vote. And they did it 27 years before the United States. These are some national symbols. That kiwi that you kindly got for me is actually because of the bird, which is in the lower left corner. It is a flightless nocturnal bird. And in fact, to call it somebody a kiwi is actually a word of pride. The New Zealanders call themselves kiwis. These are some symbols, national symbols, the flag, the Maori symbols. You may have seen me wear a couple of pieces of jewelry that are from that. Each one has their own symbol. The New Zealand Christmas tree, that was really fun the first time I was there. Christmas, of course, is warm because that's their summertime. But they have these trees that right around Christmas time, these giant red puffs pop up all over the tree. And so it's like nature's decorating the Christmas tree for them. And the silver fern is because ferns are everywhere all over the country. And again, that is the symbol, it's the symbol for rugby. And in fact, one of the women's league sports is netball, and they are the silver ferns. So I also think the coat of arms is kind of cool for left corner there. Wellington is the capital. And I think this is one of the reasons I love this photograph is you can see that it goes a long way, but it's compact. There's also a lot of natural, untouched land nearby. And that's very much, they're a very dense population. So it doesn't take you long to get outside of the city, pretty much anywhere you go, except for Auckland, which is huge. Just very briefly about their government. They are a representative democracy, unicameral parliament, just one, they have a prime minister, 120 members of parliament. By the way, 5 of them are reserved for Maori citizens. General elections are usually held every 3 years, usually because if, with consultation with the leadership, they can decide, you know what, we're doing really great. It's 2.5 years in, let's do an election now. And so that helps them get reelected. They have 2 major buildings, Parliament on the right, the bottom there, was completed in 1922, and the Beehive, which is the executive wing on the left, completed in 1979. And just in case you weren't following, Jacinda Ardern is no longer the prime minister. She resigned, and Christopher is. It's important to note, of course, just like with England, when a new PM is selected, they are selected among the party. So Jacinda's still a member of parliament. She's still there in government. And in fact, Christopher was there since 2008. So it's more like, be more like a speaker of the house. You don't vote. We as citizens don't vote for who that is. It's the party that does that. Thinking of George here, this is a little bit on their, what do they export? And thought that would be interesting, just how much is really dairy, apples, kiwi fruit. It probably actually came from New Zealand, so thanks, Ruby. Interestingly, because of the environment, especially in the South Island, the California pine, which is really, really straight tree, takes about 80 years to grow tall in California. It takes 10 years to do that in New Zealand because it's just the perfect environment. And so pine is one of their greatest exports, as well as sheep. There are 5.1 million people, 26 million sheep. And last but not least, one of my favorite things is their national anthem. It's actually sung twice. The very first time it's sung in Maori, and the second time it's sung in English, same words. And when you watch that on a performance or something like that, you can see that the entire community, no matter the ethnic background, they're all singing Maori. And I just love the way it's integrated. I had an opportunity to serve on Northfield's Beyond Land Acknowledgement Committee. It's actually one of the things that I've often thought would be really neat around here when given a chance, is dual language signs with one of the languages being Dakota. It would be one of the things that I was thinking about around the Historical Society or the Urban Nature Center, or even just simply when driving by rivers. When you go over a bridge, it tells you what river that is. That's the Cannon River. How about Indian Mosquito? Or if you're driving over the Strait River, how about the Owatonna River? Owatonna means strait. So at any rate, that would be a neat thing. All right, well, New Zealand is my soon-to-be new home. And thank you all for your patience in this week. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
So you showed the exports, the major exports. Does that kind of align with what the popular industry is for New Zealand?
Absolutely. The ones that I would add would be research. A lot of the, some of the more recent cancer research is coming out of universities in New Zealand. And then again, tourism, that's a big industry. Yeah.
Do you know the text of the national anthem?
I actually do, and in fact, I don't know if it will let me. I actually have it. I don't know what time it is. Do we have time? It's after 1, I'm not sure we have time. I do.
I would love to know what the text. Can you offer a theme or something that's?
Yeah,
We have time to play it, and if you'd like to,
Do we?
I'd be happy to.
I don't know what it is.
I also put a copy of the video on the desktop, if it doesn't work in the PowerPoint.
That was recorded at the All Blacks. Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But you mentioned there's 100 islands.
Little islands, many of them unoccupied, but yes,
Yeah, but, whatever, the one you mentioned had 402 people.
that was the third island. That was in the, national anthem. It mentions God protect our triple star. That's North Island, South Island, and the
So
Stewart Island.
these little islands are not close to the main island. And so they are going to commute back and forth on a daily basis for work. What kind of industries do they have that they have some kind of lifestyle or work to do? Would be interesting.
Lots of nature preserve. When you're in that kind of environment, and literally the environment is key. It's also important to remember that the hole in the ozone is over New Zealand. So, and that part of the world. So they are very aware of and really work hard to protect the environment. So there's a lot of nature preserves, and that sort of thing, lots of experimental stations.
Government, yeah.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you.
You bet. Yes, on the work-life balance. So what does a typical work week look like for? It's Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. But you actually take a morning tea break. How many of us have a morning break that actually you don't leave your desk, where you'll grab a cup of coffee, that sort of thing? You get an hour for lunch, and you actually leave your desk and do that, and you get an afternoon tea break as well. You know, for around here, I think another good example is when you start, it's common for any position when you're starting to get 4 weeks of vacation. And as well as what we would call PTO and other kinds of things. I mean, they work, but they work to live, not live to work. Just as another piece of trivia, just sort of get your mindset around here. No shirt, no shoes, no service. First time I was in a fish and chip shop, and in this little girl comes and she's wearing a bathing suit and no shoes. I was like, she's not wearing shoes. Not a peep. Dad comes in, no shoes. Not a big deal. That's common. In fact, I learned from asking Mark afterwards, respectfully, they weren't wearing shoes. Yes, shoes are optional. In fact, shoes are optional to school. Shoes are optional everywhere. Yeah, exactly. That was my response too. But it does speak to the play, more low key.
Couple of personal questions. Do you have a wedding date?
We don't yet. I have to fly over so that my visa and my passport match. Then I have to stay in the country under that not married for a couple of months. We're looking at probably June, mid-June.
And do you have plans for work there?
I'm not allowed to work yet. And so I am pursuing, or I'm beginning the path of multiple visas. New Zealand doesn't really recognize marriage as a defining factor of, oh, if you're married, then it's a permanent relationship. They actually give equal credence to time spent. For example, Jacinda and her husband, they've been partners for well over 12 years, have a 4-year-old daughter. They are not married. And that is not a barrier for anybody in New Zealand. It's important to me, which is why we're getting married. But so the very first visa I'm on is a visitor visa, and I'm not allowed to work. The next visa that I'll be applying for end of July will be a 1-year partner of a New Zealand citizen work visa. And then it'll be a 2-year work visa, then it'll be residence. It's important to note I am maintaining my home, so I will continue to be a Minnesotan as well. And all those good things. And I'll be back. I'll be back at least once a year. And so if fingers crossed, it aligns with the meeting, I will swing back. Yeah.
So when we all come over for your wedding, where should we stay?
Absolutely.
$9 cabin. Get there with you. Let's hear a big round of applause. I mentioned this when your partner was visiting us, but Flight of the Conchords HBO series, if you haven't seen it, help you get geared up for New Zealand. It's about 2 New Zealand guys that come to the United States to make it big as a band, and they keep going. Their band manager is the New Zealand consulate, and he doesn't have a clue. He's trying to get them booked for gigs. Anyways, it's a great show, a lot of comedy. So thank you all so much. I just need to borrow this here so I can miss everybody. Well, there be kind. We'll see you next week.
It's so nice to meet you. You have the back table for the class. You miss you. Yeah, she's the best. Thank you so much. You need to shut the camera off.
Oh, sure.
I just have to ask you 2 things. What?